Hi there, I'm Jim Raffle. Welcome to this episode of the Jim and Shelby Show, All Things Print Podcast. I am joined, as pretty much most of the time, by
Shelby Sapusik. How are you today, Jim?
I'm tired.
Too. It's been a week already, but that's
Yeah,
okay. Busy
I
is good.
have a blurred background because it's a hotel room, so shocking with me, right? Um,
Well, it's either a hotel room or a cabin on a cruise ship.
my office sometimes,
I understand.
ISA trade show floor last time, I think that was last episode. I've lost track. What is our topic, Shelby?
So we have been talking about AI, here and there. We even did a new iLearning Plus course that came out recently for Printing United Alliance on AI and color management. And, we have more, I think, AI images coming into our client sites and people wondering what they're supposed to do with them, how they get them into their production workflow, what they do about the color. And so I've been playing with AI, based on that. I want to learn more about it. And so about it was sometime in March, I think, a couple months ago, I just started putting things in like, hey, can dream up a new color AI. What do you think? And I did this through ChatGPT. And so it came up with four options, I guess. And
Oops,
so I thought we would talk a little bit about it and, what your thoughts were after I saved the screenshots for you
here they
and
are.
look at them. Um,
Can you see them?
yes, I can. I mean, we're not going to read this whole
But
thing.
but this is what Shelby did. So Shelby
Yep.
she prompted the AI, in this case ChatGPT,
Okay. Yep.
create a new color in the rainbow, and it came up with no good,
Navaris,
no,
Navaris, I think.
yeah. And what's neat is it just come up with the name. It came up with, you know, a complete description, right? That's kind of
Mhm.
cool. And then you prompted it for a new color for animals.
Yep.
I'm not even going to try. You can pronounce this.
Varian.
Which sounds like a more like a type of animal than a color of animal, but
Yep.
they say that that would be camouflage, communication, and bioluminescence.
Yep. Ultra visible color exists outside human perception, which is interesting because I have something to say about that after we go through these.
Sounds like predator to me. And then you wanted a just a new color you hadn't seen, and it was
Valian. I'm going to call it Valian. It's a spectral shade that exists somewhere beyond human perception. Again, interesting. Hovering between ultraviolet and undiscovered deep spectrum cyan. Interesting.
and finally, I can't read that because there's some screen stuff in the way.
Tell me about a new color.
New.
Luminara or Luminara exists at the intersection of bioluminescence and soft pastels, a glowing I can't say that word, hue that shifts between an electric violet blue and a warm peachy gold, depending on the light.
So that's, I mean, those are pretty cool. And it's like one of these things where I mean, we can go back and forth on AI and legal, moral, ethical, all of that stuff
Mhm.
till the end of time.
Sure.
But one of the conversations that keeps coming up, kind of an intersection for me, whether it be with you or with specific, like with one of my brothers, with Jacob, who works with us and who will be editing this, um, we all agree that there are legal, moral, and ethical issues that need to be looked at. The reality is, though, this genie is out of the bottle. If you don't like AI, that's fine. I get it. There's aspects of AI I don't really care for either, but genie's out of the bottle. Um,
Mhm.
there are some things it's very useful for, and this was not, I didn't like view it as a creativity tool. And because, you know, in theory, it only knows what it's been fed. And yet,
In theory.
in
Um,
theory,
but the reason I asked it this is because someone I knew was using it to tell stories. Tell me a story about a little girl who finds a blue balloon in the forest and she encounters a bear, whatever it might be, right? And it will and this isn't something AI, quote unquote, knows. It takes your prompts, because that's what they are, they're prompts, they're ideas, and it wraps it into this story. And it was a very long, in-depth story, very intricate. And it was kind of impressive. So I wondered if it could do the same thing with something visual.
Well, and we talked about, I think we actually discussed it in the iLearning Plus course, which we'll make sure to drop the link for that. You have to pay for that. I'm just going to be completely
Mm,
transparent, but I think we discussed in that course um, the fact that we used AI to create a contract for a consulting client, and
mhm,
um, that's I didn't know if it was going to be able to create something that I thought was acceptable. And the reality is, with maybe a total of an hour reformatting and editing, I had what I wanted
mhm.
for no additional cost than what I already pay for Grok. So that was a pretty cool use
Yeah.
case for AI. I'm sure that any lawyers listening don't think it was so cool, and they'll
Mhm.
probably tell me that it's fraught with peril, and it might be. But I've also used lawyers, and I knew the size of this project and what a lawyer would charge me for the complexity of the contract. And I would have had to raise the price of substantial. I probably would have had to raise the price by a third to cover legal fees. And that to me is just not, it's not palatable. I mean, that doesn't work in the current business climate, at least with the clients we're working with. So, um, yeah, I mean, I found it useful for that, for sure.
Well, I mean, you're saying, lawyers might have a problem with that. Well, it's the same thing that graphic designers might have a problem with creating AI images. Same difference here. We have been in rooms where AI was a topic of a panel, and you've had someone stand up and say, "Hey, I don't agree with the ethical, moral, originality, creativity issues surrounding AI image creation."
Well, and we have some friends of this show who, or at least some people we worked with before. I'm not going to give names, but who have recently lost their jobs, and I know what their jobs are, and they're data analysts. I think that's a career that's it's dangerous right now because, for example, a project we're working on with a client, I fed Grok a spreadsheet, and I asked it some very specific questions about the data in that spreadsheet. I had a hypothesis, but I couldn't quite see the connections. And in less than 60 seconds, Grok did some really, really deep data analysis that I probably could have done myself with my, master's level statistics class from 30 years ago, whatever, however long it's been now. Um, but it would have been a stretch, and it would have taken me a couple days. And 30 seconds, 60 seconds later, I had my answer. And I could have probably also employed a data analyst. But again, genie's out of the bag, or out of the bottle. Sorry, genie's out of the
Mhm.
bottle. And I needed help, and I used it. So, to me, that was a legitimate use case. There's
Sure.
some use cases I've heard about that concern me. Um, and that's just because, okay, you and I are writers, right? And so I have a person I know who came up with a use for AI where the first thing he does is he asks the AI for ideas for topics for an article. And then he picks one of those and he says, generate a outline for a 6,000 word, however long the article is. And it generates the outline. Then he edits the outline. So I do like that there's human intervention here, right? He's picking from the topics, he's picking the best one.
Hmm.
He's creating an outline and then he's editing the outline down. Then he feeds the outline to the AI and says, okay, now write me the 6,000 page or 6,000 word article, right? And and it does. And if I believe what he's telling me, there's not a whole lot of editing that then occurs. And I'm like, okay, uh, so we're basically reading articles that have your byline, but were written by an AI. And
Correct.
I don't honestly know quite how I feel about it. I
And
know
what if
I
this
know
person, he or
pardon me?
she is getting, and what if this person, he or she, I don't know which, is getting paid for that? How do you feel about that?
I, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know that aspect. So you're right. It's a what if.
Hmm.
I believe it's really being done as a marketing concept in this particular case. It's
Hmm.
it's to raise awareness of this person's skills. Um, yeah, I think that's a little bit weird, right? Because, as many of you may know, if you've been listening, Shelby and I are working on a book, right? And I can tell you right now, that book is Shelby typing and Jim typing
Zero AI.
and no AI. Um, because I
It's
think,
almost like, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's almost like cheating. Yeah. And imagine if, this is an article that you put out there in the industry and then someone gave you an award for it. How would you feel about accepting credit for that? I mean, I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror in the morning. I guess I wouldn't be able to do it. I really wouldn't.
and imagine, okay, now let's go into science fiction land since we're having fun and it's 8:30 at night or whatever time it is, 7:30 at night. Um, what if AI does in fact become somewhat self-aware and says, hold on a second, you didn't write that article. I mean, it
Well,
could
and
happen.
I just like if I went to Shutterstock and or even Adobe Stock and searched for an image and wanted to use it. Until I purchased it, it has a watermark on it.
Yeah,
How long before there's a watermark on anything created by AI? I mean, I bet you that will become a thing. And because I'm even seeing it in contracts for my writing and my content creation. There's it doesn't specifically says AI, but it says original content and it's like in bold and and I'm pretty sure I understand that they're not looking for me to give them content that was created by AI.
probably true. Probably true. So, all right. So, what else is going on in the world of print and are we going to be
Well,
anywhere? What's
well,
up?
first I have one more thing on this whole AI
Oh,
color thing.
sorry.
I asked AI to come up with colors and everything, and I noticed that it was saying things beyond the visual spectrum. Did you pay attention to the color graphic I put out week before last?
Yes, the one where five people were able to see a color because they gave them some kind of
Some
a
kind of laser treatment.
right.
Right. And it's called Oz. Well, I guess like the Wizard of Oz. And these people were able to see they stimulated the human retina. I'm reading what I wrote, so that five people could see the new color, which lies beyond the scope of natural human vision. They saw the new color, which they're calling OLO, OLO, and described it as a blue-green of unprecedented saturation. And it's impossible to see without the laser stimulation. So they actually supposedly got people to see a new color outside the human visual spectrum. And that's interesting to me. I don't know that I would let people fire lasers in my eyes so I could see new colors.
So this
You
is
know,
what
I'm
we were just talking about.
yeah. So, it was just interesting. And this happened, yeah, it was in the April 18th Live Science article that they discovered a new color by doing this, and five people had their retinas stimulated by a laser. Uh,
So if
Interesting.
you haven't seen our color graphic, by the way, Shelby does a fantastic job with this every week. It looks like this, well, it has this layout every week. Not created by AI, created by Shelby. And so she grabs a color of the week, fun fact of the week, and then kind of promotes whatever's going on.
Hmm.
Um, and so this is the next place we'll actually be, right? I mean, that I can think of. So
Yes.
we're taking the summer off of trade shows and such, but you can find us at UV Energize. I think it's almost sold out, but you can get more information. It's very inexpensive to attend. Although I think it's gone up a little bit in price if you aren't a PDS customer, but it's a great event if you do anything with UV printing. One of the best educational events I think in the industry right now, quite honestly. So there's that. Um, we are going to be very busy at Printing United. I can tell you
Very.
that. now. There is a, I haven't even, there's a, I wonder if I'm allowed to, yeah, okay, it's posted. There's a G7 plus summit. I don't know if that's the correct word. The day prior to the show, we're gonna have to
Hmm.
change our travel
I saw
plan,
that.
by the way. And so that, and I believe it's free to attend, is my understanding. If I'm wrong, I'll correct it later. But you do not have to be a G7 expert. It's for G7 experts and people interested in becoming G7 experts. That's
Mhm.
the main core audience. So that's going to be cool. That's a half day event before the show. And then you and I are speaking together at least once that I'm aware of. And
Mhm.
then I am part of two different panels on the Academy Day, which is, I think, this first or second day. I can't remember. So we've got a lot. As little as we were doing at ISA, it's the exact opposite at Printing United.
Right. It's going to be hard to really go to booths or have meetings during that trade show, I think.
I agree. I agree. People are going to have to come find us.
Yep.
So, yeah. All right. I think we've gone on long enough here, unless there's anything else you think we
We
should.
covered a lot of topics today.
We did. It was kind of it was a little bit of a round robin, I guess, of
What's on your mind?
topics. Yeah. And we got some travel stories in there, which who
Yep.
knows, Jake may edit some of those out.
We'll find out.
That's up to him. All right. Well, unless you have something else, I'm going to thank people for joining us again this episode, and we will put something together for next episode. I'm sure Shelby has a fun and exciting topic in mind.
I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to go look at the show notes and see what I'm. Is it in there
I
yet?
already told you about it.
Oh, oh, this is going to be a fun episode. Oh yeah. Okay. This might be as much fun or more fun than the ISA episode, which, but I mean, and when I say fun, it was fun for us to make. So this might be equally fun, maybe even more fun than the ISA episode was to
Or
make.
it could be a complete disaster, but we'll find out.
Yeah, it may not get published.
We've done that before too.
Yeah, we've pulled some shows. All right, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next show.
Bye.